Good morning, everybody. Monday, here we go. Let's get cracking. A brand new week in a brand new month, and we've almost hit the skids at the end of the year where everybody just goes like this. This is what happens to work. They go, I don't care, I'm leaving it alone. Yeah, enough. So we got Leigh-Ann and Bakh'abantu this morning. Good morning, brother Bakh'abantu. Good morning, sister Leigh-Ann Mole.
Good morning, comrade.
Very traditional.
Comrade.
I thought I'd address you like a monk and a nun this morning. Sister, here we have Sister Inviolata of the Immaculate Conception. Good morning, sister.
Good
Here
morning,
we have
Father.
brother Ignatius of the what would we say you were? Not the Immaculate Conception. We'd say you're brother Ignatius of the All Hallows and All Saints congregation of the West.
Goodness me.
All right. Good morning. So,
Good morning.
how was the weekend? Let's start off with that because it's definitely getting to that time of year. I see people are starting to unwind, let loose a little bit. But I also noticed that it was super quiet. I went to a concert on Friday, and then afterwards, I noticed that no one was doing anything. Like I said to a friend of mine, like, "Oh, we're going to meet for drinks or something?" No. And then I spoke to another friend of mine, and they were like, "No, nobody's doing anything tonight." It's like, what are you talking about? The whole this happened to be in Pretoria, but Joburg too. Apparently, Friday night was quiet. People are telling me there's a lot going on.
What
think they
concert
spent
did you go to?
They spent all their money on the Springbok weekend, and now they've got no money there.
Or energy?
Yeah.
Load shedding is back. Everything.
Right. So I went to the Westlife concert, which was actually was really, really nice. I had an awesome time. It was actually lots of fun. I haven't been to a concert for ages because, I'm becoming
Overkill.
boring. No, well, concerts are. To me, it's always. I mean, it's fun when you get there, but like the idea of going to it, it's almost like anything else. I mean, I hate the idea of just going anywhere until I'm there, and then when I'm there, I'm like, yes, this is what a good decision this was. Well
It's
done.
that gym effect. It's that gym effect. The first 10 minutes of the gym suck, and then after that,
yes. I thought this is gonna be. I didn't have a shitty attitude beforehand though, which is good because I'm trying really hard not to have a shitty attitude about anything. So I was like, yeah, because I do think like there's just a general kind of mehness about the world at the moment, and I don't want to be one of those meh people. So I'm trying to be optimistic and positive about everything. So I went in with a good attitude, and I had the loveliest time. So the guy who started big concerts, Ati van Wyk, who we've got to get in for an interview sometime because he is. I mean, I suddenly remembered like what a genius this guy is, and he really is. He's so talented and so clever. And he had so much to catch up with me about because he and my mom were at school together, for heaven's sake. So they were like best friends at school. So this goes back to before I was born even, and he's such a clever businessman. I mean, he started that awesome business, which I think they sold to Live Nation, but it's still part of that enormous international collective. And they're doing so well after COVID again. And he's bringing all the good artists out. He told me Maroon 5's coming. He's got a lineup for next year. It's really something else. And, just sitting and talking to him for a little bit was so much fun. And his son was there as well, who I've met a couple of times before. So it was really like friendly and fun. My ex came along, which was nice. She was full of the joys of spring and happy to get out of the house and do something fun as well. So it was lovely to see everybody there. And then they took us for a meet and greet with the band, which was quite cool too. And I mean, we've got history. So I remember seeing those guys in 2001 and then again in 2004. We did a corporate gig or something together, which I'd forgotten in between. There was a huge VW launch at Sun City, which we did as well. I was the MC for it, and they were one of the performers. Kelly Clarkson was there as well. Kelly Clarkson.
I was waiting for that.
So we had a nice little catch up, and I laughed with them about like how now they're touring with their families and that sort of thing, and it used to just be like drunken, and it was actually quite cool. So then the concert came on. That was good fun. About an hour and a half. They do all their hits, and it's just the arena was sold out, which is pretty damn amazing. 3 nights in Pretoria, 2 nights in Cape Town, sold out. This is for a band that made their name 20 to 25 years ago. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, good going.
So good for them. Nice to see the guys, and they all look pretty good considering how the years have taken their toll on the rest of us. I think you know what? We're holding up all right, Leigh-Ann. We're doing okay. Our people are not a complete disaster. You, me, see some of the people from 25 years ago. You're like
Bakh'abantu.
Because Bakh'abantu, you were born. And these guys were already on their way out.
Gosh, yeah. Well,
Anyway,
I mean, I felt the quietness as well. Well, I firstly on Friday, I went to the most amazing Halloween party I've ever been to. That was just incredible. It's been held by the same person every year for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Is it a floating trophy, or is the swingers party?
No, it was amazing because there were so many people there from the ages of 2 to I think the oldest was 88.
It definitely can't be a swingers party with kids from the age of 2.
2 to what? 80?
88 was the oldest man. We gave him a lift in, him and his wife. He was dressed as an undertaker and used a spade with a black bow on it as his walking stick. And had a black suit on and a top hat.
That's so nice so nice you got to spend time with your ex and I got to spend time with mine.
Yeah. And his new wife, no, not new. They've been together forever, but she was dressed as an angel in gold with wings.
That's so cool.
But it sounds so bleak though. He's dressed as an undertaker and she's an angel. Like what?
And my brothers won the floating trophy the past 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So he went all out and purchased one of those costumes where it looks like you're riding something, like he's riding a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
A friend and I went as a Dexter couple. So we both had on these white overalls with fake blood all over them. Buying fake blood is fun when you walk into these, crazy stores and things like that. And I go up to the counter. I'm like, "Can I please get fake blood? Fake blood, please! Fake blood! We need fake blood." That was a new experience, but there was a bit of a shortage of fake blood. Obviously, people weren't donating. The fake people weren't donating their blood.
Fake people.
But yeah, we had like bloodied sores and injections and all sorts of things.
You have a picture of what you look
like? It's weird. I got dressed when I got there because I came straight from work, and there was no mirror. So I took a picture of my friend, and he took a picture of me. So I've got a picture of him, but none of me yet. I'm sure they'll do the round soon. But I've got my costume here, actually.
Let's have a look.
A little costume change.
Well, you know what's always... Can you imagine? Oh, look at that. Oh, Leigh-Ann, that's frightening. That blood looks so real.
It does.
So that was pretty cool.
I don't think we can show that on YouTube. Hey, Leigh-Ann.
So do you have to return that somewhere, or is that yours now?
No, it's ours.
Have you got a whole dress-up cupboard at home? Because I remember you used to have a...
Yeah, I used to. And I don't know where all that stuff is. Oh, I've moved so many times. It's probably in storage somewhere. My fancy dress box.
The Halloween was the 31st, which was during the middle of last week.
Yeah.
But it seems to me a whole lot of people did Halloween parties the weekend before or this weekend that's just finished now. How did they work?
It seems like the kids were the focus of last weekend. Trick-or-treating and all the neighborhood, you had to get stickers to say you were participating as a house, and then they would come and knock at your door. And then it seemed like the adults were doing more this weekend.
Right.
But yeah, it was just an amazing setup. It was next to a river with lights and gravestones and arches and
Oh, wow.
skeletons, and the
Wow.
whole
That's amazing.
Like,
area
Leigh-Ann, you
was
slept
just
on us
done up.
here. I think you should have came with pictures. It sounds
I
so
know I
great.
should have. I know. I actually thought about it this morning. I was going to ask someone to send me
you
some, but it's a bit early.
You said that this is a regular party that you've gone to for a couple of years in a row now, and it
I
sounds
haven't.
like
First time that I've been.
it sounds like the people who put it together are really going to a lot of trouble. I love that. That's amazing. I think that,
Huge.
Yeah. So God bless the people who are still putting on the entertainment, because those people, we need entertainment. I look at Vuyiseko here says people are really not doing anything now. Saturday I was so bored. I was drinking indoors. I even found myself watching your old show, G, of Idols. After I watched it, they cancelled it. It's dead. Yeah, I saw Randall on Thursday. I told you at Rian van Heerden's birthday, and I asked him, who's you're not on the show anymore. So he's like, no. He finished it last year, I think. So I said, do you know who's doing it? So he said, no. And if we couldn't be bothered, mind you, we're probably not the right people to ask, because we didn't even know who won in the years that we were judging. We didn't know. We'd bump into this, Leigh-Ann. We'd bump into winners
I know.
year after. We'd be talking to these people, and then someone would walk past us and say hi, and we'd be like, who is that person? And so I don't know. Anyway, he said he has no idea what's happening. So it's their last year, so they're finishing. But yeah, Vuyiseko, I don't know. I think the people who are putting on the entertainment for the rest of us, they are the very most special and important people for this time of year. Because otherwise we all sit around waiting for someone to, like, please entertain us. And thank God for people like these guys who put on your Halloween party, like Ati puts on these concerts. Bless these people. They really are making our lives a little bit more interesting.
Just a little more bearable.
Felt very special. And the reason I'd rushed there was because I got a new job. I've got a new permanent job.
Wow.
Full-time permanent job, which I haven't done in a long time. The last time I had something permanent was like SABC.
Wait, is this still online, or you go to an office place?
Hybrid. Go to an office. So the office is in Four Ways, near the Indaba Hotel. So it's quite a way.
Wow,
Rush back to So I mean, I'm like hybriding it.
But that's cool.
Awesome.
Are you going? Is this a social media type thing? Is it in the same line as what you were doing?
I'm the head of digital marketing there.
Nice.
They're an SaaS consulting service, software as a service, and they've been kind of dabbling in digital marketing for a while, and now it's just about bringing all of that together for a really amazing list of clients.
See, you know this stuff. Everybody claims to be social media experts these days, but you actually know, because you've watched it all happen from a traditional media and a digital media point of view, and your stuff. You've basically been in practice doing this stuff nonstop since it started.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, the story I love telling always is that Twitter had only just started. We were only really using Facebook at the time. And then Twitter started, and I approached you and Fresh, because I was doing the sort of social media for 5FM at the time.
That's right.
Starting that up. And I said, there's a platform coming around called Twitter, and I think you guys should reserve your handle,
You did.
And the two of you said, no, we're not. We've got Facebook. We're not interested in another platform.
No, that's exactly what I've said. That's exactly what I've said with every other platform since then. I've been like, no, I don't want to be on Instagram. No, I don't want to be on TikTok. No, I don't want to be on this. Oh, please.
But that's what it's about. Is like,
I mean, you did prevail. Eventually, we listened to you.
Yeah. Just being around when that wasn't offered as education at varsity. You just had to self-learn and self-school, and just through experience.
Congo Chris says, I miss MySpace.
MySpace. Gosh, yeah, we had that for a while.
Sure. That's great. I remember, says Carl, when Leigh-Ann did fax marketing.
Don't joke. We used to receive our news via fax.
fax. Do you remember a fax? Wow, that's a thing. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things because we've got to get into the week that is, not the week that was.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a few things that happened over this weekend. I see the Bucks are doing their triumphant tour across the country. You know, they're doing those open top buses. My sister was in the CBD of Johannesburg. She went to court to because she's a lawyer, she's an advocate. She was doing some case there, and they went right past her in the bus, and she was very chuffed about that. And I think a lot of people saw them on the highways and on the byways and the towns, and it just looked like there was a hell of a crowd everywhere they went. People were thrilled to receive them, and I'm so happy that we can milk this. I hope there's another week or two left in it for us to really excite ourselves. I mean, even on stage, the band that I went to see, they all wore Springbok jerseys, and there's such a feeling of that being something that we can be proud of in this country, which I love. And everywhere you go, people are just still on cloud nine about the Springbok win, which is excellent. May it last a lot longer. There's just one person who's
Not
very miserable.
not everyone,
Well,
Gareth. Actually, two people, but like we'll talk about Juju.
the one person who's just obviously a fucking Grinch, and always, if the focus isn't entirely on him and his little shitty party and their red berets and their childish antics and their struggle envy, then he's a misery. So he's a misery because he says Springbok captain, my captain Kolisi on social media has now turned around and called the team an apartheid symbol that must fall. So speaking at the party's Gauteng elections workshop in Johannesburg, angry little man-child Julius Malema described the Springboks as a team that was celebrated by murderers like Pierre Botha, the former National Party head of state. I mean, I think Pierre Botha died before Julius was born. I don't think they had a lot of overlap. If they did, Julius was an infant. But he's obsessing over a guy who died before he really became anything political. And this would be like me getting angry about Napoleon. It would be like, oh, that fucking Napoleon, I'm still angry about that Napoleon and what he did. And I wish he hadn't started that war. And, I lost a great-great-great-grandfather who died in 1814 at Waterloo. And I'm so angry. It would be that stupid. That's what he's going on about here. This guy's just he's pissed off with the world that he wasn't born at a time where he could have actually fought a proper war. And it's never going to happen for you, Julius. It's done. This country's not as interested in you as you are in yourself. That's why you can't get over 10, 11, 12% at the polls. I don't think you ever will. But to take this out on the Springboks, it's mind-boggling.
Mind-blowing. I don't know how you look at a situation where the entire country is united and you're like, oh, let's make them fight.
Well, he says
he's making this thing. The one takeaway was that like green and gold, entire South Africa united, and this man is taking this position.
This son of a bitch.
Exactly.
Well, at least we know what he's all about here. I mean, you couldn't script a more obvious.
How do you race bait the greatest moment in the country?
Well, it's not even. This is it. You're not even race baiting. To me, he's just so out of ideas that if everybody likes this, then he must like that. He's got no new ideas. So he said the EFF is a populist organization, but he said his party could not be because they didn't join the rest of the country in hailing the world champions. You claim the EFF did not hate rugby, but they don't love the Springboks, he said. You can't say Rhodes must fall and not say Springboks must fall. The Springboks must fall, he said. I mean, really, what a pathetic comment from a pathetic human. Carl says, is Julius the country's biggest puss? It's between him and Zuma, right? Well, even Zuma, at least he's likable. If you meet former President Zuma, and if any of you have, you'll know what I mean. He may be a hatchet man and a crook, but he at least smiles like a snake when he meets you, and he's very warm and friendly, Anyway, I don't know. What do you reckon? Is there anything you want to add to this? Because this just drives me up the wall. Why, if everybody is finally moving in one direction, must this angry bunch of disenchanted, still stuck in their adolescence psychologically people, why must these guys ruin everything?
Oh, wait, you know who tried to ruin a moment? Did you see the chick who tried to kiss Siya Kolisi? She jumped on this guy.
Yo,
Yo, the poor guy. I'm like, yo, that is a sexual harassment on a scale.
You might not have seen it. She like leaps at Sia with her tongue out like the alien from the alien movies. Just have a look again. And I mean, we've already seen how Rachel Khaleesi responds when girls go after Sia on social media. She takes no shit, right? So but you know, there's always someone.
There's always someone.
There's always someone who like pushes it too far.
Like, but what is the plan there? Like, she's just gonna kiss this man, and they're gonna fall in love.
She's got dreams. She's got big dreams, man. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's so awkward.
By the way, Ryan says the EFF are full of shit because look at this. Here's where they were celebrating the Boks. This is the official EFF Twitter account. Congratulations to the Springboks for winning the Rugby World Cup. Historic, monumental, and inspiring. So that was obviously on the day that we won. Yeah.
Yeah, but then how's their communication going? Because yeah.
And then they started this
fractured.
Anyway, I am so not interested in them, and I don't think we must pay attention.
No, you said why do we let this man disappoint us? No, don't. Just don't.
Just don't even talk about him. Anyway, what a fucking loser. So speaking of Rachel Khaleesi, apparently she took a like rugby ball to the head or something.
Yeah. She was on the bus and got hit by this rugby ball. So what happened was this girl in the crowd, she's only known by her first name, and she wanted to throw the rugby ball to Sia Khaleesi to sign. And he missed the catch, firstly, but it kind of came out of nowhere. And then secondly, it hit Rachel on the head. And she's since responded and all of that. But there is video of that as well.
There it is.
It was quite a knock.
She wasn't doing it on purpose, right? She wasn't doing it on purpose.
No, she was absolutely appalled that had happened. But Rachel Khaleesi
took it like a champ.
She took it like a champ.
So it even has the pen taped on.
Oh, is that what it is? I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it has like duct tape and there's a Cokie pen attached to it for Sia to sign with. Anyway,
it's not the most glamorous incident to happen. But
no, I'm sure this is going to put a dampener on Rachel and Sia Khaleesi's current excitement. I'm sure they're pretty much thrilled about the way the world's working at the moment for them, and they deserve to be.
She joked in the comments on the Instagram post saying "savage," and she said, when you trip and fall in public and you really hope no one saw it.
Yeah,
but she added it was a great throw.
Well, she shouldn't be embarrassed. She was just she was there. It wasn't like the woman was throwing it at her. And if her husband had just caught the damn thing,
the Boks really suck at their lineouts, eh? Even when they win, they still suck.
But Sia Khaleesi was like he was quite shocked in that video. He turned around very quickly. He was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But like, did you see them though? By the time they got to East London, they were so tired. Like, I feel like the tour now needs to stop. I know Gareth says one more week. Nah, these guys are tired, Gareth. They're world champions. You just need to rest. They can't even catch balls now.
But Bakh'abantu, we can keep it going. We can stay in a positive frame of mind rather than get into EFF mind.
Yeah.
Hive mind, EFF, communist hive mind. So rather, let's be happy for a little week longer, shall we? Okay. Iran Air offered free flights to the EFF to go and help and fight Palestine. They got no seats filled. They loaded food and stuff. Iran Air. Well, isn't that interesting? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm going to go and get involved here. I'm going to get stuck in. And the EFF are always talking about how they're fighters. They use that word in all of their communications. Yeah, sure. What have you ever fought except poverty by stealing? That's what you fought.
Well, that's economic freedom, isn't it?
Exactly. In our lifetime, Gareth.
do they really think fighting is? Do they think fighting is just standing around mouthing words on Twitter? Is that what they think it is? Anyway,
basically.
Yeah, don't forget Fikile Mbalula also trying to take the limelight. What was he doing? I didn't see him over the weekend. Or was that in when they went to the rugby and he was dressed like
a Takalani Sesame character?
I think so.
You know our version of Blue Bird, of like Big Bird?
He looks like a Takalani Sesame.
Looks like a Muppet. And I don't mean it an insult. This is like a factual thing. He looks like a Muppet.
Yeah, he does. He actually really does. All right, so we got a bunch of other things to talk about. We'll get to that just now. You've had a weekend of debauchery, Bakh'abantu, which we need to find out the details of.
I don't know, and between the fact that I can't remember and the fact that I don't think I'm allowed to say the stuff that happened.
What happened?
No. We were in Cape St. Francis Bay.
Oh,
Bloody
nice.
Beautiful place. So gorgeous. But I woke up Sunday and I was like, this weekend really flew by. I don't remember anything. And I don't think I have friends anymore. I was a proper problem child.
Oh, boy.
Did you let loose?
Yeah, I let loose just a bit. We have Ryan in the studio with the sports.
Well, we get our attention turned to the sport. Yeah, because you've actually got to give us a little beyond the scoreboard update with Super Bets. Let's see from Ryan what we can find out about the weekend's results. There was some amazing cricket yesterday. It didn't turn out to our advantage, but you want to start with that?
All right. Well, let's get into it because on Friday now. I'm no massive cricket fan like Ben, so I'm going to try to break it down. I had to go back to my primary school ways of learning how the cricket goes because it's been a while since I've watched cricket, but I'm trying to get into it. It's the World Cup. So on Friday, we had Netherlands versus Afghanistan, and Afghanistan won by 7 wickets. Netherlands came out with 179 in 46.3 overs, and Afghanistan took it 181 for 3.
Good.
Today, we had New Zealand versus Pakistan. That was the big one Ben was talking about. Obviously not as big as our one on Sunday, but New Zealand got 401 for 6 versus Pakistan. And they got 200 for 1 by the 25th over. Now, they won by a thing called the DLS method, which I don't know too much about. It basically stands for the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern thing. I'm going to ask Ben to break it down on Friday night, but from what I understand, it got rained out, and what they do is they then take the average run rate for the rest of the game, and basically Pakistan won by 21 runs on that one. So that's how that went. But Ben will give us a little more in depth on that. So then,
it's harding up now because now if you're going to lose like we lost to India. If you're going to lose, let it be now because we're getting to the semi-finals, which obviously is where you can't afford to lose. So if we're going to lose it all, let it be here. And it's not always the best thing for someone to go in totally unbeaten, which is what India are going in with now. So they may give you some heads up into the next part of this competition. Go on.
Then we had Australia versus England. Australia won by 33 runs. They got 286 and 49.3 overs, and England got 253 and 48.1. Then we had the big one, which was India versus South Africa. We got bowled out for 83, and India won by 243 runs. So that's how that went. Now we have some games coming up this week. Today at 10:30, we have Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka. Tomorrow at 10:30, we have Australia versus Afghanistan. Wednesday at 10:30, England versus the Netherlands, and Thursday at 10:30, New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. I hope so.
Someone says in the comments, can't we just get Ben to call in? And
Ben doesn't get up this early. He's like cold plunging or something. I don't know what he's doing right now. Anyway, moving on to Premier League. Manchester United beat Fulham with a last-minute strike from Bruno Fernandes. That's 1-0 there in London. Then Liverpool versus Luton Town, 1-1. Very surprising. Chigit Bakh'abantu shaking his head. Then we had Newcastle. This is a very surprising one. Newcastle versus Arsenal, 1-0. Gordon sealing the fate in a very controversial moment, which many Arsenal fans are still saying wasn't allowed. The ball looked like it was out of play. Yeah, exactly. So it was allowed, but Arsenal even put out a statement they don't support it. So
they don't support the goal against them, of course.
No. Well, I'm saying Arsenal was backing the management's statement behind the whole thing because Arteta went off during the whole press thing. Man City put 6 behind Bournemouth, and Chelsea play tonight. They're playing Tottenham, and they actually unbeaten up until this point, believe that or not. So that is at 10 p.m. tonight. And then if you're still watching rugby, I'm rugbyed out, but
no, there are people who still want more.
There are people who still want more. And Ben did mention if there's any funny names in this league, because it's the United Rugby Championship, that they're probably a Scottish team or whatever. So on Friday night, we had the Ospreys versus the Sharks, and the Ospreys won 19-5. And also on Friday night, we had the Glasgow Warriors versus the Stormers, and that was 20-9. So the Stormers came out with a loss in that one. Saturday, it was the I don't know how to say this. I'm going to say Zebre versus the Bulls.
Zeb versus the Bulls.
Zeb versus the Bulls. And the Bulls came out 54-29. And Sunday, it was Benetton versus the Lions. And I think they came out 15-10 there.
I thought Benetton was a clothing brand. Okay, all right, there we go. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right, Ryan, thank you. There's the best we can do for sport on a Monday, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Wait for Ben on a Friday, guys. I've seen these comments.
The content is good because the production is super professional.
Winning.
We don't profess to be experts at everything. We know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
We try.
So the other thing I did on Friday is I had lunch with Dr. Hanan because we have once a year we have like a catch up lunch, and he's so busy that every time we try to see him, he's like, "Oh well, I can fit you in here and here." And luckily, we managed to get a whole lunch out of him, and it was fun to sit with him and talk nonsense, and also talk about what's going on the show and what we want to do going forward from next year. So we've got some nice ideas, and we'll be speaking to him shortly. So if you've got anything you want to ask Dr. Hanan, you can get hold of us in the comments section, or you can send us an email. Comments at cliffcentral.com, right? And then we'll get back to you on that one too. If we can even fit it in this morning, we will. But we've got quite a few things to talk to Dr. Hanan about. So next, is it Jane with the news, says Ricky.
Be careful, she's around the corner. All right, guys. Listen.
All right, thanks, Brian.
All
cool.
Right.
Okay, so there's some sport for you. If you won anything over the weekend with super bets, good for you. I didn't. I placed a stupid bet on the Netherlands because the odds were better, and Afghanistan obviously beat them. So I lost, I don't know, $200 or something there.
The war-torn country that is Afghanistan beat them.
I know. I bet against them, which probably would have been where the smart money was, right? But little do I know. So it just shows you. For me, it really is gambling. It's not about knowing anything.
It really is. Just pure luck. They can give you all these numbers and metrics. No, you just put your money and pray.
Will you switch off all the other mics in the studio because it's making you very echoey? Otherwise, it's like, yeah, that's better. It sounded like you were in a bubble chamber. All right, so a couple of other things that are in the news that we need to know about. This is frightening. A radio anchor in the Philippines, that's a DJ in the Philippines, was shot dead while performing a live broadcast.
Jeez.
Juan Jumalon, who's known as DJ Johnny Walker, that's original, was shot inside his home-based studio, police said.
Oh.
President Marcos condemned the murder
Check behind you.
Of the radio journalist in the strongest terms. 4 journalists have been killed since Mr. Marcos Jr. took office in June of 2022, the National Union of Journalists in the Philippines said. He was live streaming on Facebook at 5:30 on local time when the suspect entered the recording booth and shot him. The Philippines is apparently one of the most dangerous places in the world for journalists, says US-based Freedom House. How do you think that goes? Wow.
Into his home. That is just next level.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty. I mean, really.
Sure.
Listen, we are busy with doing sort of a soft launch of the new app, which is available. And if you could find it, you can try it out. But we're not going to start telling people to do it in any big way yet because we're still we're still ironing out one or two little details. But if you want to go and look for it on both the Google Play Store and the App Store on Apple, you can find our new app. And we're just sorting out one or two things, but it works much better than the old app, which is obviously starting to come to the end of its life cycle. You know, it should be wearing an Undertaker's outfit and going to Halloween parties, if you ask me. So if you want to go and check out our new one. What's going on there, Leigh-Ann?
Oh, that cat.
Oh, thank God.
That I told you about. That old
cat. I thought you were talking your private parts.
Me too.
No. She's like, she's licking me to irritate me, and now she's biting me because she wants food, even though she woke me up at 3:00 this morning to eat. I've been awake since 3. I think.
And she's still hungry?
She can only eat a teaspoon at a time, and sometimes she brings that up. So she's like permanently hungry.
At this time, Leigh-Ann,
I can't.
Isn't it time? I was going to ask.
Yeah,
I have
Leigh-Ann,
to, especially now going into an office. Shame.
No, you've got to just do what you've got to do here. Sorry.
I might do it today.
Yeah, honestly, we all, wish you well.
Do it today.
Yeah, might have to happen today.
In that case, let's say farewell.
Bye, kitty.
Bye, Sheba.
It's been fun. Oh, man.
Oh, she's so cute.
She's purring.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be on camera.
Yeah, it sounds like it's time. Shame. I'm sorry about that. It happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it's when she starts like gnawing on you and can only eat 1 teaspoon at a time and then throws it up, and no, it's not going to happen.
Well, Leigh-Ann does give her avocado toast.
Shame. You know, I mentioned that incident with the fly laying eggs in the avo. And then there were a few people trying to get hold of me on Twitter, which I'm not really active on, to say avos are poisonous for cats. So you're actually completely right. And it would be irresponsible. I guess I didn't think about it, and she's on her way out anyway. It might have been a better death.
Okay, so this is the first time I'm hearing avos and cats, but is the chocolate and dog thing a thing? Like dogs can't eat chocolate?
Yes, 100%. In fact, my cats tried to murder my 2 dogs with chocolate. I got given a massive hamper one year from Lindt of a bunny, like a bunny the size of a toddler, made out of chocolate.
Wow.
And the cats pushed it off of the table onto the floor, and my 2 dogs got into this dark chocolate. The darker the chocolate, the more toxic. And I had to rush them into the vet. They had to clean them out and give them charcoal to induce vomiting and that sort of thing. They nearly didn't make it. Very, very toxic for dogs.
I know some humans who are uniquely stupid about these kinds of things as well, and then they have to take them to hospital and have their stomachs pumped. You know, people who drink petrol or something by mistake because it's in a they think it's like petrol has a color to it.
Yep, and a smell.
Look like urine?
And a smell. No,
it looks almost like cream soda. It depends obviously where you get it from, but they usually put a colorant into it so you can identify it. And then, people stupidly leave things lying around their garage. For example, they'll keep a little canister of petrol there, and then, a child, for example, will see that and they'll go, "Ooh, cream soda." Meanwhile, and then you have to pump their stomachs, and it can get very messy. I know someone who that happened to. And now everybody's climbing on for like the avos. Avos are no-no for dogs. Avos bad for dogs too. Avos are no-no for parrots
as well.
There's a toxin in the pip, but it does occur throughout the avo. But for instance, once my dog ran off with the pip after it slipped to the floor, which happens a lot with the avos. They're tricky little fuckers.
You're telling me.
And
I almost lost 2 fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Keep them away from animals, which is strange. They occur in nature and on trees and fall on floors, and everyone else seems okay. But anyway,
just don't. You know what? You don't see in nature dogs running around like waiting for the avos to fall off the trees and then chewing on them maniacally. So rather don't.
Don't do that anymore. They mash it up and put it on their toast.
That's for millennials, not for you. You're mixing up millennials and dogs.
Along with your $40 coffee.
Okay. All right. A couple of other things that just before we get to Dr. Hanan, because I'm looking forward to talking to him this morning. But there's something here that I think we've got to talk about too, is how many humans a T-Rex would have to eat each day to stay alive. So if we had dinosaurs, because I mean, what kid doesn't fantasize that they might, discover a dinosaur on some island or in some forest or something somewhere? If there were dinosaurs around today, does anyone have an answer as to how many humans a T-Rex would need to eat every day just to stay alive? Your cat can have a teaspoon of food. Yeah. What would it be?
So there's actually been a bit of research on this, and you actually think that I was quite surprised. They don't need that many, but to survive, they generally need 2 humans per week.
2?
Sorry, two people per day. 2 people per day.
Yeah, I said per week is not enough.
Yeah,
so for instance, a crocodile eats about 5% of its body weight per week, whereas a warm-blooded predator like a lion needs to eat 25% of its body weight each week. T-Rex had a metabolism somewhere in between. So if we say 15%, that would translate to more than a ton of meat per week, or about 2 people per day.
That sounds about right.
But also, they eat less regularly, like lions and crocodiles.
Don't talk about them in the present tense. You're frightening people.
they would probably.
Yeah, they would.
They're busy eating those avers from that tree.
So the science says they would probably starve for a month and then eat like a busload of tourists all at once.
Oh.
All right. Would you want to hear? You want to hear what a T-Rex would sound like? They've been working on this in this is amazing, in laboratories. They've actually sound laboratories. They've been figuring out, based on the size of its throat and the kind of skeletal structure it had, and what sort of comparable sounds other animals might make. They've eventually figured out what a dinosaur would sound like. Listen to this. How do you like that? Frightening, huh?
It sounded in the beginning a bit like hippos.
Yeah. What are those hippos doing, Leigh-Ann?
I'm quite scared of this. This doesn't sound very good.
Yeah, but didn't they use like cats' noises for in Jurassic Park for the velociraptors? So I always thought it would be like a growl vibe, not that. That's terrifying.
KB says that's a vuvuzela. Sounds like a cross between a Hardy-Da and a Yamaha outboard motor. Sounds like my brother-in-law snoring, says Biasen.
But also, this article goes on to say that they were actually massive cowards, the T-Rexes.
No.
And especially when they were nearby another dinosaur named the Quetzalcoatlus. Sorry, butchered that one.
Monster of pronunciation, Leigh-Ann.
And that's like a bit of a hornbill bird mixed with a lemur. And they would poke the T-Rex's eyes out with their 2-meter-long beaks.
Oh my God.
So, and the Tyrannosaurus rexes were petrified of these. They would like turn around and run away from them.
You don't blame them. Sounds bloody terrifying. All right, so listen, we got to get to Dr. Hanan, and we've actually got to meet Jackie, who sent us an email, because this is where it all starts this morning. So, hey, Jackie, how are you?
Hi,
Sit up there. Got you, yeah. You got his mic on there, Bakh'abantu.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yep.
Figuring it out at the moment. All right, so Jackie, I'm going to introduce you in a minute to Dr. Hanan. We're going to find out about what the issue is that you want him to help you sort out. So, Doc, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you, and thanks for a nice lunch on Friday. It was good to catch up with you
that was
again.
lovely.
All right, so Dr. Hanan, we've got Jackie here, And Jackie wants to talk about a very particular issue that's a very traumatic experience around the death of his adoptive father. So, Jackie, you go ahead and tell Dr. Hanan what it is that's going on with you, and then we can hopefully get into helping you out.
Morning, guys. Morning, Dr. Hanan and everyone.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Panel. So here I am to share a personal story. I've been writing multiple letters, reaching out to various state organs about a very, very disturbing issue that I've experienced. So on the 11th of September, there's my father, adoptive father, Mr. Jacobus van Vuren. He was declared dead at the Tshwane District Hospital. So I've been staying with Mr. Jacobus for over a year now, with a lady called Mrs. Silstor. So they both adopted me after I was neglected by my family. So on the 7th of September, I got him admitted at Tshwane District Hospital. He developed an abscess. So he was elderly citizen, 62-year-old. I was looking after him. So he had a motorbike accident, meaning he had a bedridden situation. So he developed an abscess. So I had to take him to the hospital where they would have to observe it and make sure that he doesn't develop any infections or all that. That's why they kept him in the hospital. And then I went to see him for 3 days. I met Dr. Siemens there. She told me it was not a complicated or delicate situation. They just wanted to keep him and they could help him with physio because he needed help with that. So I went to see him on the 9th and on the 8th and the 9th. He was okay. And then on the 10th, there was a gentleman who came to visit Mr. Jack, a friend of his.
Okay, Jackie, I gotta hurry you along here. I mean, this is great, cool. All the detail, but like get to the part where you need some help.
Okay, so here's what happened. It's that my father, Mr. Jacobus, was declared dead on the 11th of September at the Tshwane District Hospital. So I provided the hospital with some information, and he was cremated on the same day that he was declared dead. So basically, there were people who did things behind the scenes or bypassed the systems and used illegal documents that didn't have their his ID in their possession to actually get the process through. So
is this an issue for Dr. Hanan, or is this like an issue for the hospitals or whatever? Because I mean, you're telling us stuff here that has nothing to do with trying to get you out of the trauma.
It's an issue with the whole system trying to get access.
We're not going to solve that. So how can we help you with your mental health? Because we can't fix the system from this show. I'm sorry. I wish we could.
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to raise awareness of what's happening in the hospitals, and that people die.
That's all good and well. But what's your state of mind at the moment? Because we can't fix the hospitals, and I know you've now brought it up. But there's a very specific situation, and frankly, I don't know enough about it, and we don't want to hear enough about it right now. It's a very particular set of circumstances. How can Dr. Hanan help you?
I just wanted to bring this information and raise awareness, and that I'm going through this trauma right now that I don't even understand, and no one can hear. You don't know where to go to. You don't know where to turn to. It's just like a dark world, a cold world out there where justice, you ask yourself, where is justice? That was the title of my letter, actually. What happened to justice?
Okay. So Doc, can you maybe help Jackie? Because it sounds like an awful situation and something I'm sure a lot of people in this country go through.
Yeah, sure. So look, I mean, one thing that's inbred in all human beings is the need for justice. We want to make sense of our world, and when there's an injustice, the brain can't accept that. And we would do whatever it takes to close the loop, to make sense of the world, to come to a point where we feel justice has been served. To your point, if you feel that there is an injustice or something doesn't make sense, I would seek all legal advice, and I would go and try to close that loop and make sense of that particular story. There are particular organizations and societies that can help you, from the legal societies to the HPCSA, that you can go get some information and try get to the bottom of it and see how you can open up some maybe information or get into the know-how of what can be done and how you can solve this puzzle, which is incredibly traumatic. But to your point, what must you do, and what can you do to help you deal with this unknown? Because trauma is really a situation where the brain cannot make sense of the event that's happening to us. And the event is quite important, it's quite consequential. And when the event is important and consequential and the brain can't make sense of it, that is when the brain goes through trauma. So what I suggest is, and I've always suggested to everybody as a life principle, is take control of what you can and let go of what you can't. Should you still pursue this question mark of what has happened to your adoptive parent, father? The answer is, of course, until you've reached a point that you cannot solve it anymore or the problem has been resolved. But what I would suggest in the meantime is that you focus on things in your world that you can control. The more you focus on what you cannot control, the more you will be traumatized. So the more you focus on what you can control, the more your brain just kind of latches onto that and makes that the whole world. I've mentioned this on the show a couple of times, and I think this will be of value to you. The brain is a very complicated and very advanced supercomputer. It can work out to really deep calculations, but it can't do two simple things at the same time. You cannot spell your name backwards and multiply 7 by 2.3 at the same time. Your brain just goes into an error mode. And the reason why that's important, why I'm raising it, is because we can use this, let's call it fault, to our advantage. Because your brain can't focus on one, or you can't focus on two things at the same time. It can't focus on what you can control, and it cannot focus on what you can't control at the same time. You choose whether you choose to focus on what is of value to you, or you choose to focus on what is not of value to you. So you might say, well, what can I control? Well, you've got other relationships. You've got a sense of purpose, financial security, your diet, your exercise, your sleep, your routine, your structure in the day. Those are the things that you can control. And what I advise you is to create some routine, and yes, dedicate time to solving this puzzle through the right channels, but at the same time, in other times of the day, focus on structure and routine and focus your attention on what you can control. It will help you heal.
Does that help, Jackie?
It does really help. It does really help a lot, because it's a whole thing of how do you manage your mental health when you're supposed to like be dealing with the world out there that's bringing all these externalities onto you, and now you have to internalize everything and yet deal with the external world at the same time. So it's that battle whereby you don't know how to manage, how to bridge the gap between the two. You know, you're trying to find a puzzle, but you lose yourself in that. You don't know what's happening. So I feel like mental health, it's something that's very intricate and very complex that
well, it doesn't have to be. You heard what Dr. Hanan said. Focus on the things you can do something about. Focus on your own life and where you can go. And I think this is very, very important advice. This is very, very practical advice. Do what you can, and don't worry about the things you can't do anything about, right?
Very good. Very good. That's exactly the point. Because remember, the world is going to throw you many, many curveballs. The world is going to distract you, but you must see all these things as just noise and data. You must use that data to make you better. So if the noise is worth your while to invest in, and you can use that information to elevate your game and level up, use that. And if not, you chuck it away. But focus on elements of your world. Don't allow the world to distract you. There are many things in your world that you can control. Can you control your relationship? I'm assuming you have loved ones, whether it's friends or family or kids or parents. I'm sure you can focus on those. You can focus on your sense of purpose. You can focus on your financial stability. You can focus on your health. You can focus on your routine in the day. Those are the things that you must control. So during COVID, people say, what can I control? There's still plenty that you can control. If you focus on it, that becomes your whole world. So focus on what you can control and let go of the noise.
All right. Is that what you wanted to hear? Is that what you expect?
I think it helped. It helped to. I just need to focus on what I can control and what I can actually manage.
No, well,
and
listen,
I know everything else that I cannot actually.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we had to rush through the problem you have at the hospital, but it's not something that we're going to be able to solve this morning, and it doesn't really fit into what we're doing. But do let us know how that goes, because I'm sure that there are people also being messed around by the system, left, right, and center. I mean, we know that happens, right, Doc?
All the time. But the truth is, it's a kind of analogy for life. It's like we get messed over by the system. whether we're messed over by an ex, messed over by a current, messed over by a boss, by a colleague, by illness. Life throws these curveballs at us. It is our responsibility to focus on what we can control. Viktor Frankl famously said, everything can be taken of a man except the last of all human freedoms, the freedom to choose one's own attitude. The universe will throw curveballs at you left, right, and center, but nobody is responsible for you and your attitude that you take towards any given situation. So pick the attitude and follow through.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Jackie. Thanks for popping by this morning.
You, guys. Appreciate that.
Good. So, Doc, one of the other things that we spoke about, and this is probably something a lot of South Africans are going through at the moment, is the highs and the lows of kind of us winning the World Cup, and then people kind of coming down and normality setting back in. What do we make of that? And how can people also, as they're starting to come back to grips with reality, we're also going towards the end of the year now. There's a lot of kind of apathy with people in the workplace. We've got to keep putting in the effort right to the end, right?
It doesn't end, guys. It doesn't end. One thing about life is that any living thing requires attention. The moment you stop giving it attention, it begins to decay and then die. So yes, we won the World Cup, and the truth is we enjoyed it. It was wonderful. It was great, but life continues. The next morning, your boss still demands X, Y, and Z from you. The next morning, your kids still demand you to be a parent. The next morning, your spouse demands you to be a partner. The next morning, your brothers, your sisters, your friends demand you to still take on your responsibility in that role and that identity. Life doesn't stop just because we won the World Cup. Yes, we enjoy it, we celebrate it, we honor it. That's all wonderful, but life continues and you take your responsibility seriously. So you wake up the next morning and life continues. Don't marry the ups for the next 50 years. Enjoy it and then move forward with your roles and responsibilities.
Gareth, we can't hear you.
You get addicted to the high, and then it's difficult for you to kind of get back there, because that's all you want. Is you think, oh, that felt so good. I love the fact that we've got this amazing result in the World Cup, or because I won in the super bets gambling, or something else happened. And then after that, when you just go back to normal life, it feels a bit boring.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, we get married to the drug, we get married to the high, and we think that is the life. But the reality is that life doesn't care about that moment. Life continues and expects you to take your responsibility seriously. So yes, we get married, but don't marry that. Just see that as a moment and then continue with your responsibility, with your framework in leading life in a productive and efficient way. All
right. Thank you, Doc. We'll catch up with you in a week's time, and have an excellent week. I hope you get lots of good stuff done. Everybody. All right. We get a break. We will be back in just a little bit with the rest of the Gareth Cliff Show this morning, and you can get hold of us in the comments section today live. Everything available on podcast a little bit later on as well. Don't go away. We've got lots more still to come.
Let's talk about what is the average cost of a new car today. What are we seeing in the new car space a little bit? And just talk about some advice that we can give anybody who's looking for a car. And for context, I was looking at some research, and the banks say that right now the average cost of a new car monthly is about 11,000 rand that you'll be paying, which is an insane amount, versus 2019 7,800. For context of the full price, it's about 393,000 rand. So just off of that alone, do you think that we're going to be seeing that stay at that amount? Do you think new cars are going to be getting cheaper?
So there's a few ways to look at this, right? If in 2019 a car cost 7,851 rand per month for finance, what can you buy for 7,851 rand?
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
talking about enlargement of the penis. The average male penis is how big?
According to you on the show this morning, 13.5 centimeters.
In the erect state.
Oh, in the erect state, yes.
And in a flaccid state, 8.8 centimeters. Do you think it's relevant in the South African context?
That was the Tea Health Show, empowering you with knowledge. Download all previous episodes on your favorite podcast platform. The Tea Health Show is brought to you by Tea Clinic.
All right, we are live Monday morning. Fascinating stuff going on the Tea Health Show.
You're right. Ryan's like the face of flaccid penises.
Now, that's what you want to be known for. Is like you got to be careful which shows you say you'll join in on, right?
Bro, you can't be talking about penis extensions and then I am the special guest.
Special guest is producer Ryan. Shame. All right, let's take a look at some of the important stuff that's going on. We mentioned a couple of news headlines, but there's other stuff that's just I'm fascinated by. The fact that this Sam Bankman-Fried may be going to jail.
Yep, he is.
And I really thought he was going to get away with it because he's so like enmeshed with all of the elites in America, and he's got so much protectio. You know, this guy anyway, he has been found guilty of fraud and money laundering at the end of a month-long trial in New York. The jury delivered its verdict after less than 5 hours of deliberations, concludes a stunning fall from grace in the 31-year-old's story. He was a billionaire, once known as the king of crypto, and he's now facing decades in jail. Apparently, Bankman-Fried was arrested last year after his firm FTX went bankrupt. He was arrested in, I think, the Bahamas somewhere in a big apartment.
That's what killed me. It's like, dude, if you're going to run away from the law, go to like a non-extradition country or something.
I don't think he thought he would be arrested. I don't think he thought it would get that bad. Anyway, he's now been sentenced, and his sentencing is going to be carried out on the 28th of March next year, but he's probably going to go to jail, and it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be one bad guy. And what he did to these people, like, there's a certain element, you know, when these people do this whole young genius, it's like a Dr. Matthew situation. This young genius, new cool kid on the block thing, it does sell, but there's always something fishy there.
So is the, you know, because there's also, I always think there's a part of us that's to blame if we go for these things. I mean, I'm just not a great investor, whether it's in gold or in stocks or in crypto. I'm not a great example. I know some people who've made lots and lots of money and they've been tremendously successful at this. So I don't doubt that there are people who do know what they're doing. I'm not one of them. What I would say is that, and we've got an interesting interview with a guy coming up in the next couple of minutes on the show, and he's going to tell us about a different sort of exchange that he's started and how that's going. But what's amazing is that there are just people who are very talented at this stuff, and then there are people who are not. I'm not the guy to ask on this stuff, but there are clearly people who understand these things far better. In this case, I think a lot of people, both ones who did understand and the ones who didn't, were taken by this guy because these exchanges seem to just break down.
Yeah.
And then people start withdrawing their money all at the same time. And in this case, it does kind of make me think of Bernie Madoff. You remember him?
Yep.
Remember that whole thing?
But like, so with crypto, Gareth, it's this thing, like, it doesn't make sense to me, right? I've never gotten crypto. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but
no, lots of us.
If you can't secure your currency, right? If you can't secure your currency, then it means nothing. There's no value to it. If you can't secure it against the dollar or gold or oil or something tangible.
Well, you can. And the point is that I think the idea of cryptocurrency is still a really great idea. And I do think, especially when it comes to, you know, if we believe in the rand or the dollar, there's nothing necessarily that's more sensible about that than believing in a cryptocurrency that's backed up by blockchain. In fact,
I don't subscribe to cryptocurrency. Blockchain technology is beautiful because of the verification and the banking aspects of it. But not actual crypto coins. It's nothing.
Well,
it's Dogecoin.
That's an opinion. That's an opinion. And there are people who've got varying opinions in this field. I don't think that you can take Sam Bankman-Fried as the best example, just like you can't take in rand or dollar terms at the time, you can't say, well, Bernie Madoff is the best example of someone who can operate your investments. Lots of people did believe him and got taken. But I also think that there are examples all over the world of very good financial advisors. I mean, we spoke to Anthea just the other day about how, some people invest very well and very carefully and make tons of money. So Sam Bankman-Fried, I think this whole story with him is so bizarre. And you remember the girlfriend, and they were all living in this apartment together, ordering pizza the whole time. His parents are both college professors. It's just the weirdest setup, the whole thing. So he's definitely going to pay the price for it. And that's probably what people want too, is when someone is dodgy, that they pay a price.
They pay the price. We can trust our government and we can trust real experts. So you're right. I am not an expert.
No, and like Dud says, so what is dollar? I mean, Biden printed trillions of dollars out of thin air, which is exactly the point. The dollar isn't tied to anything either, says Congo Chris. There's no difference between fiat currencies and crypto. They only have value because we agree they do. I say let's go back to the gold standard. Yeah. And Lucky asked about Revix, so we're going to get Sean on next week to talk about that too. He's been busy traveling and sorting things out. We'll talk about that too. Because again, it's not easy to figure these things out.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this stuff. Everyone has an opinion.
Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff. Apparently, Leigh-Ann's got a list. Now, this is quite useful. A list of 10 testosterone killers. And none of them involve Sam Bankman-Fried's girlfriend. She may be a testosterone killer, but we're not going to say that's all there is to her. All right, so let's look at 10 things, and this is what we often bring it up when Ben's on the show. Testosterone levels for men are down. Even Dr. Mark has spoken about this on the T Health Show. We know that this is something that affects men. So what are the things that you could look out for if you're a guy and you don't want to see your testosterone go through the floor?
Well, this is from a very recent YouTube video by Coach Elaine Gonzalez, who's an author, personal trainer, 800,000 subscribers. And he's now digging into this whole testosterone phenomenon we're seeing. And these are his top 10 testosterone killers to avoid. Number 1 at the top of his list is refined carbs, breads and pastries. The second one is lack of exercise, just affecting your heart, your testosterone levels. 3 is
had someone. Sorry, I don't want to rush through these because these are kind of important. We had someone on just the other day who said that they had stopped eating bread and carbs, and their life had improved.
Yeah.
Well, bread and carbs, we must remember that those are those refined carbs, but it doesn't mean to exclude things like potatoes and sweet potatoes and starchy veg.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, let's cut that out and see how it goes, for a week or two.
I mean, for instance, sweet potatoes and brown rice is crucial for hormonal balance.
Right.
So you've got to just get rid of the ones that are like really highly refined. Lack of exercise, as we said. Studies show that even 15 minutes of exercise every second day can significantly boost testosterone levels. That's really not a lot to ask.
No, and it seems to me like this is an obvious one that many people in the world have just forgotten about. Like you have to actually move around a bit,
Yeah.
You can't. And it's only now in the 21st century that human beings would be able to just watch movies and eat chips and lie around and not have to do any exercise. So it's essential to do this stuff. You feel so much better afterwards too.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was so surprised by how many of these things seem pretty obvious and how many of these things that we should be doing for all other levels of health as well. There's no like top secret to this. Number 3 on the list is poor sleep. So he says here, sleeping less than 5 hours a night for just 1 week can age your testosterone levels by 10 to 15 years.
God,
is this stuff reversible?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like if you suddenly start sleeping properly, can you reset the clock?
Hopefully. High stress and anxiety levels, to avoid those. Those disrupt hormone balance, leading to lower testosterone levels. Excess alcohol consumption, to avoid that. Again, it seems like another obvious one, but it's linked to reduced testosterone levels and increased cortisol, and that again links to chronic stress.
I mean, like Friday night, I decided I wasn't going to drink at all. I wasn't even driving, but I thought, let me just see what it's like to do this and go to a concert or whatever. And I had one drink, and it was absolutely fine. I didn't feel like I had to keep going. I didn't feel like, let's have another one and another one. Like, it's easy to just say no. And I wonder how many people just use it as a coping mechanism and have forgotten that this stuff actually is completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And I see a comment there from More Rabbit. Just stop eating cuck bread. Sourdough is great for you. It's so true. Yeah. We don't realize that what we call bread, that stuff that lasts forever, for a week or two without getting moldy or decaying, that's not real bread. Real bread is you bake it on the day and you eat it on the day. The next day it's as hard as a rock. It's gone stale. That's like proper bread.
But who can afford to bake their own bread every day, Leigh-Ann?
I know.
Like with the prices of Ever and your own bread, sourdough, everyone was. did you? Oh wait, I know you both don't bake, but like during the COVID scare thing, we were all making our sourdough bread, ne?
Yes,
we were all there. Yeah, it was like an entire craze.
Sure.
Like good times.
People could do. It's amazing what you suddenly learn the skill for. You think, I can't do that, and then because you got a bit of time on your hands, and there's no easy access to the shops anymore, you suddenly figure out, hey, actually, I could do this. It's like all those people who started veggie gardens during that time, and I think that's probably good for you in the long run too. Is like growing your own food wherever possible.
And that people have refined isn't the word we should be using when talking about carbs, but they've refined recipes over the years. So bread that would take a day to make, they've found ways chemically, the good chemicals like bicarb of soda, to rush these things along and still get good quality bread. So, I mean, I know of some people who make their own bread the night before they go to bed in a bread machine. It's not impossible.
No, it's not impossible. It's a little bit more work. Like anything that's worthwhile in the world, you have to do a little bit more work to get the results.
Yeah.
Basically.
He talks about excess body fat, and how not only that, but fluctuating your body weight, especially significant gains, can result in decreased testosterone levels.
Right.
And then this one got me. I didn't know about this, but some hair loss medications can alter your testosterone levels, which, I mean, the point of life when a patient starts seeking hair loss medications is exactly when their testosterone's at risk. So it's just like doubling up on the risk.
Okay. We got a first-time streamer here on the show this morning. She's listened to the show on podcast before, but broke her foot yesterday. I'm sorry about that, Leonie. Love the show. Isn't that nice?
Very cool.
You know who's not missing testosterone, Leigh-Ann? Do you remember this marvelous man?
The Liver King or something? What's his name?
Yes, exactly. Way back when men used to do.
Yeah, but
he was found that he was taking testosterone like illegally.
Yeah, he was taking supplements.
Supplements.
But your list isn't finished yet, is it? Is that everything?
No. There's still 3 more. Trans fats to avoid in your diet, which we find in our processed foods. Those can be associated with lower testosterone.
I've always avoided fat trans people, always. So that's
so you're good on that one.
Yeah, that one I can take off, definitely.
But you've also,
the rest of the list I'm still working on.
You've also avoided the fats, just the fats, fats in the world.
That's right. I've been assiduous about it.
So obviously using your cooking oils like olive oil or coconut oil is better in this situation. And then vegetable oils, although they come from vegetables, having a lot of these polyunsaturated fats is linked to lower testosterone. So there, kind of look at your avocado oils or olive again. And the final one, and this one got me by surprise, to avoid female hormone mimickers. These exist in everyday items, including detergents, soaps, shampoos, and perfumes, and they may contain compounds that mimic female hormones, and these disrupt hormone balances in males. So opt for natural or organic alternatives in these.
That's scary because you wouldn't even know.
No idea.
You think about perfumes, for example. I mean, you wouldn't know what perfumes contained hormone mimickers.
Yeah, exactly. Female hormone mimickers.
Right? But I think also, there are ways to do this. So what I'm hearing from you in summary is that you got to watch what you put into your body in terms of diet. You've got to do exercise. You've got to sleep well. You mustn't get overly stressed. You should avoid too many dangerous or not necessarily beneficial chemicals. I suppose you could also do supplements of some kind. Testosterone supplements are available now. You've got to go to doctors who know what they're doing. They can figure out for you as you get older what you need. But basically the idea here, it's not complicated. It's like live as healthily as possible. Cut out alcohol. Try not to get into situations where you're going to spike your weight or your stress or anything else. This sounds pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be very easy to do, but to do all those things at once is a challenge in the way that we're living. I mean, if you're earning a decent income, you're probably going to be stressed at the same time. Those just go hand in hand.
Money if they're not doing,
and if you're working really hard, you're probably not going to make it to the gym.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like egg and chicken scenario. And I mean, testosterone levels in women is important too. I remember seeing an endocrinologist probably about 15 years ago, and that's a good doctor to go and see for all of these hormonal balances or imbalances. And he picked up that my testosterone was low. And interestingly enough, the easiest way to absorb testosterone is through a lotion that you put on your feet, under your feet.
A lotion.
I was like, is this guy like a bit witch doctory or a bit woo-woo?
Yeah,
it's a medical. It's a medical thing. I don't know if it's only women, but that's how women are often prescribed testosterone, is in a cream form on the bottom of your feet.
That's how you get hairy feet, Leigh-Ann.
Testosterone.
Yeah, your toes start farting in public.
Wow. Okay. Well, interesting stuff. Very, very good. Men naturally spike their testosterone, says Congo Chris, when mating competition is around. Surround yourself with peers on your level or better and watch your balls swell. But he's being funny, but he's actually spot on there too, because
it is the most basic human. Yeah.
In the wild, if you're in competition with other men for females, then it's going to drive your testosterone up. Makes perfect sense. That's how your body responds to what your immediate natural environment is. So that would be something to keep in mind too. If you're around a bunch of men who are not threat or not necessarily a threat to you, but not competition for you, you consider them beneath you, then your testosterone finds a much more simple and easy and straightforward and relaxed state of balance.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually in competition. You're not
being challenged.
Yeah, correct. I can help adding testosterone to women, but not the trans fat ones. That's what Carl says in the comments. Beautiful.
You can provide them with that cream. Oh.
Yeah, I see lots of stuff coming out of America at the moment, just like, queers for Palestine and like trans people for Palestine. I'm like, do you guys know that in those countries they would throw you off of a building? It's the weirdest.
That's a good point.
You don't have to be this again. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this one out. You just have to read I don't know, 3 pages of Wikipedia about what happens in Palestine, for example, whether or not they have women's rights or whether or not they have gay rights or trans rights. Because I can promise you the answer is a straight up no. They don't have those rights there. And if you are in a group called Queers for Palestine, I hate to break it to you, but that's like a bunch of like chickens saying we're chickens for KFC or cows for McDonald's or, really? That's what you got? Unbelievable.
Did you see this?
Hey, I bought some eggs this weekend. They were back on the shelves in some of the shops.
Okay.
I was so excited. I made an omelette as soon as I could.
You're making me think I should have an omelette for breakfast this morning.
Mm.
This egg thing, though, it seems to be coming back into balance. But are the prices coming down?
Well, it was interesting. The extra large eggs, which I usually get, were like 70 Rand for 6 or something. And then the large eggs were 36 Rand. So I bought those.
Okay.
It's still not in balance, that's for sure.
Biggest conspiracy I know is that extra large eggs are not a thing, Leigh-Ann. Like if you're not paying for more value, an egg will always be an egg, unless it's those small pigeon ones. But like an egg is an egg.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I see a difference. And if you buy,
you still have 2 eggs.
It's the size of the eggs. Yes, you still have 2 eggs, but there's if you beat those eggs up in a jug, the milliliters are going to be higher.
Yeah, but like you don't need those extra milliliters of egg. Just like a little minuscule amount.
No, man. And then if you get the jumbo eggs, you often get a box full of twin eggs. So you're like really good value for money there.
All right, but I think the point is also, even if by milliliters it's a little bit more, if you did end up whisking them up and kind of turning the liquid into a measurable amount so that you can actually identify how much of a difference there is between, let's say, some jumbo eggs and the normal ones. Maybe we also it doesn't necessarily need to be a bigger portion. I mean, all the recipes that you would have read in a book that contain 2 eggs is probably just 2 normal eggs.
Yeah, probably just the normal large eggs.
I think it's an interesting conversation to have. So here's some interesting things. Food prices never come down, says Joking Atheist. I think that's probably right too.
Yeah,
eggs
just like taxi prices.
Eggs are classed by weight, according to Arbot. Yeah, they very seldom bring down those prices once they take them up in anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely true.
All right. And then this is interesting from Congo Chris. He says, actually, the Iranian government subsidizes trans surgeries, homosexuality is against Sharia law. Sharia law. And chopping off your genitalia so you can sleep with men isn't. Well, that's interesting. Large eggs are a hoax, says Carl. He's with you on this, Bakh'abantu. He says they're tiny and the XL ones are normal size. Also, don't beat your eggs up. Some are female. 16 days of activism. All right. Let's move on to more sensible things here. This is useful. Another case of eye-watering amounts of money being spent illegally by government, this time for a call center, despite already having one. What's the story here?
This is the Citizen bringing us the story. It's a Northwest municipality facing accusations of corruption. They've got a call center already, and this call center is in perfect working order. This is specifically the Dr. Ruth Segomotsi Mompati District Municipality. They've spent 38 million Rand for a small prefabricated structure it uses as a new call center. They've also spent 1.4 million a month on equipment to put into this call center.
But and it's a little prefab building. So this is not some expensive installation. And they're clearly locking up whatever this, in inverted commas, equipment is in there. How many people work in this call center? Do we know?
I don't know, but I can tell you what they've been spending their money on exactly.
Yeah.
For instance, a computer monitor, which usually costs about 3,000 Rand. They spent 32,000 Rand on that.
No.
They've bought, in the small prefab place, 8 Lenovo desktops, car radios in emergency vehicles, walkie-talkies, routers, fiber, internet. And the outrage, of course, is that on the exact same property, they've got a fully functioning call center.
Jesus. And so they've built this. This is just they're trying to spend money. They're trying to spend money because obviously, the treasury is going to take back what they don't spend. This is how it works in government. So what they do is they suddenly go, oh, we've got like 2 months left of the year. We've got to spend all this money. So they find something that they don't need, and they spend the money because they haven't done their job up to there. And then clearly there's a lot of over the top spending here as well. So they'll say that each computer cost them 32,000 Rand instead of 3,000 Rand so that they can skim off the top.
Yeah. Yep. So this is the clanger, and this will probably explain why. The tender for the establishment of the center was awarded to a company called W Cyber Solutions. And the project is a joint venture with Green Droplets Project, which is owned by Ntombizodwa Bosaletse, who is allegedly related to a high-ranking municipal official.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Like, I'm looking at this story. They bought walkie-talkies with, what, 322,000 or something like that. Sure. Walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies. I mean, does not everyone in the whole world have a cell phone now? Can we not just get hold of each other on phones? Walkie-talkies. What are they? Tracking buffalo?
Oh, I love this one. For 16 grand, they spent it on one Huawei router for internet.
And as somebody says in the comments here, this is amazing. We need a call center that costs 38 million to collect 5 million Rand in debt.
Yes.
That's just insane. That's absolutely insane. The call center is a 24-hour service for residents to gripe about no water and electricity. And then what are they going to do about it? Nothing, right?
This is just happening right under our noses, guys.
Well, I mean, this is the one that we found out about. Can you imagine all the ones that we don't know about? That's the thing that drives me up the wall. It's like we only find out about the odd ones. They almost like they offer up a sacrificial lamb every now and then just to make people think that we're catching a couple of criminals. But we know how many billions of rands are being stolen. This is like a drop in the ocean, this thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
I just think another example of like crooks. Imagine how creative they have to be about what to put on the itemized bill. Like, we must put walkie-talkies. Why walkie-talkies, guys? Because no one knows what they cost. Everyone's forgotten what the cost of walkie-talkies, which is probably true, right?
Like, okay, granted, you do raise a good point. I don't know how much a walkie-talkie costs.
Because if you put there, like, we needed 10 cell phones, people go, well, I know what a phone costs because everybody knows roughly where those are, on the price lists. So they'll see it and they'll go, oh, no, that looks too expensive for phones. But if it's a walkie-talkie, well, who knows? Maybe it's some special kind of walkie-talkie. Suddenly you're in the bullshit triangle.
300,240. Listen carefully. 324,000 Rand on walkie-talkies.
Yeah, like, well, apparently you could get 4 for like 300 Rand. So
go. What a lot of nonsense.
So everyone on that property probably has a walkie-talkie there, just 2 for Sunday.
Yeah, they're going to the loo with their walkie-talkies. They're having lunch on their walkie-talkies.
As Carl says,
taking them home.
Maybe the walkie-talkies are actually chicken feet and beaks, not actual walkie-talkies. That's also a good point.
That could be the food budget.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, very, very good. I'm still laughing about this car that I brought up with George and the team on Friday. This great looking car. That is what the ANC. By the way, that's what the ANC would look like if you made a car to represent them. That's the kind of car that it would be. It's this
looks
really.
Like it's got an overbite.
It does.
So bad. It's so
like
bad. Congo Chris says we should shambok a government official for every 1,000 Rand that's overspent. 32,000 Rand for a monitor that costs 3 grand. That's 29 shambokings for the official in charge.
But now, Congo Chris, the problem is now we need to launch a tender to acquire the shambox. You see, we're back in the bullshit triangle.
I think this is a thing, guys. This bullshit triangle is a thing. I think we should start a movement with the bullshit triangle as the symbol. And when people when people get into these conversations, we should say bullshit triangle. Sorry, we're not getting involved. And this is the symbol. You're like, no, bullshit triangle. You like cover your face and only the little little.
Well, you can actually just use the poop emoji because that is actually triangular shaped.
See, we're already innovating this idea.
Silentificent says EFF mobile. Walkie-talkie is basically EFF mobile. That's very good. I like that too. All right. Very, very nice. Anything else you want to throw in for this morning, Bakh'abantu, based on what you got up to over the weekend, what you can remember about it?
Okay, cool. So, like, I had a great picture, right? So I had one job. At 4 a.m. every day, I wanted to watch the sunrise. And I achieved that. So throughout my entire weekend at Debauchery, I achieved the one goal, to watch the sunrise. And like I posted this on my Instagram. It was so beautiful. And like it's like a little silhouette.
Oh, that's nice.
Did you stay awake to see the sunrise, or did you wake up to see the sunrise?
Hey, Leigh-Ann, ever since I started those mushrooms Gareth gave me, like I wake up at 4, like that. Like
Gareth, one of our listeners heard this, heard you talking about it, and sent you some.
Well, I got them from my pusher, Gareth Cliff. Like he was like, "Yeah, do you want some?"
Lion's mane, huh?
Lion's mane, exactly.
Let me be clear again. I didn't push anything. One of our listeners sent this stuff to you in a bottle, in a package that was delivered to the office, and said there, "This one's for you, Gareth, and give the other one to Bakh'abantu," which I did.
Oh wait, how was your experience going? Or did you not start?
I've sort of done it every second day or whatever, and I don't feel much of a difference. But then I don't know, maybe your balance is being accentuated by this. I don't know. There are lots of things that could happen. You could have all kinds of brain chemistry going on already, and this is very complementary to it. I don't feel like I'm a different person or anything, but to you, clearly the results are much more profound. That's what you said.
Bakh'abantu is such a snitch.
No, that's what Vincent says. Well, I don't know. Like these are not illegal substances, by the way, for anybody who's listening. Lion's mane mushrooms are available on any shelf in any pharmacy. So this is not something that you need to go and suddenly find a backstreet dealer for. It's not like you're getting heroin,
Yeah.
Frances agrees. She says, "I wake up at 4, 2 lion's mane, 2 a day." All right. Yeah. So there we go. Very good. All right. Nice. I like it. Okay. I have an interview that I want to share with you. I recently spoke to a guy called Andrew Ludwig, who is the co-founder and CEO of Currency Hub, which is a regulated investment manager. They specialize in digital asset arbitrage. Again, this is something I had to ask him about and find out about because I didn't know what this was. So if you want to know, and we've got lots of people who listen to this show who seem to know a lot more than I do about these things, but we're also a bunch of people who listen digitally, who started with us with podcasting 9 years ago and who are really paying attention to all the trends. And these are the people who want to know how to make potential profit. They want to know what the risks are that are involved and a minimum investment needed to jump into the game. So we thought we'd speak to Andrew and bring you the latest on this. So you want to hear all about Currency Hub? You're in luck because here he is. And you get to hear it first on cliffcentral.com. And we'll be back again, obviously, tomorrow morning at 6. But take a listen to this first. Tell us what you think in the comments. We're going to continue live until 8 o'clock. All right. Andrew Ludwig is the co-founder and CEO of Currency Hub, which is a regulated investment manager. It specializes in digital asset arbitrage. If it sounds like a lot of words, don't panic. We're going to have him explain to us in just a second what he means. Andrew has spent most of his entrepreneurial career in both the marketing of and managing of alternative investment strategies. So let's talk to him about Currency Hub. Andrew, it's a great pleasure to have you on. How are you?
Very well. Morning, Gareth. Morning to your followers.
Thank you very much. It's nice to have you on. So tell us what Currency Hub is, and then we can get into arbitrage, because for many people, that's the kind of word that they hear and they go, oh, no. Is that to do with a war in the Middle East? So let's start with Currency Hub. Tell us what that is.
There will be some arbitrage there nonetheless. Gareth, Currency Hub is a regulated financial services provider that provides a very unique service in the area of digital assets, where we exploit a price inefficiency in a term called arbitrage, which we'll extract in this conversation. And yeah, we've been around for some time. We've gone through various phases and iterations as financial professionals, but we find ourselves focused in the digital assets at this point in time.
All right. And what exactly are we talking about when we talk about digital assets? Are we talking about cryptocurrencies? What precisely are we talking about?
Exactly that, Gareth. So the preferred nomenclature is digital assets. And that's how it's trending these days.
Right. Okay. So you've explained arbitrages. It's this difference between the price variation. So you obviously are paying attention to a whole lot of things that we can't possibly pay attention to because you've got technology and people and experience that's working in the background. There's someone buying something for this much. There's someone selling it for that much. You manage to exploit the difference between the two.
Spot on. So arbitrage, by its very definition, is a ability to exploit inefficiencies that may exist in the duration, through time, or data, for that matter, just as an example. And arbitrage has existed for millennia. Now, because of exchange control in South Africa, you pay a premium for digital assets. For example, if I was to purchase $100 worth of Bitcoin in New York right now, I could offload that amount of Bitcoin for $103 here in South Africa.
Right.
That $3 is a 3% profit, and that's what we refer to as the premium. So at 3%, if I'm offloading a 10 million Rand foreign investment allowance, which is available to most South Africans, that would equate to 300,000 Rand in profits. Now, it's not bad when you could now, and now this is something that 99% of South Africans are not using. Who has 10 million Rand to send abroad every year? Not all of
course. Okay, so what kind of profits are people making?
Yeah, so I mean, right now, average year to date has been trending of around 1.2 to 1.5% profits. Now, what that equates to is 120,000 to 150,000 Rand once we've expressed the full trade using the full 10 million Rand offshore allowance. Now, we've seen maximum returns as to 3.4, but on our worst month, looking over the year, clients are still making 1%. Okay, that's 100,000 Rand for 3 hours of work. Basically entails onboarding, doing your FICA documentation, signing a few documents, etc., etc. This all gets done online. It's slick, it's efficient as it can be. But essentially, where else are you going to make 30,000 Rand an hour doing basic data entry?
Nowhere I know of. And if it's so easy for you guys to do it, is the only impediment stopping other people that these amounts of available currency aren't necessarily available to everyone?
Gareth, it's not so much about the liquidity that we are trading. It's about a person's having capital to trade with. So our minimum trading capital is 100,000 Rand. We would recommend 250 as the sweet spot. And the higher amount that you trade with, you reduce your friction costs that take on the form of other expenses throughout the supply chain.
Okay, well, what is your background? And tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this, Andrew.
So I've been very fortunate to be exposed to the alternative assets and traditional investing and stockbroking and fund management for many years. The better part of 15 years, I've consulted to multifamily offices. And through this time working closely with hedge funds, where I met my business partner, David Ferrello, we have got to know the alternative industry quite well. And we're part of a team that built a very exciting project back in the day. And we learned how to build businesses with an institutional mindset because our investors were pensions, offshore managers, high net worth individuals in South Africa. So with that background, we were always exploring different ways of trading, and Dave stumbled onto crypto some time ago, got me into it in around 2017, and that was about the time where we stumbled on this arbitrage opportunity. So yeah, it's been a really exciting journey based on the principles of traditional finance, and now we find ourselves at the sort of intersection of crypto pioneers.
Okay, so based on what you've said about moving funds around the world, for ordinary people, there must be some, just to give people pause for thought on this, there are risks involved. There are always risks in everything. So what are the risks in this? Because people know no risk, no reward. And obviously there have been, some people who've been burnt by either doing small trades themselves or by investing with the wrong people. But those two things having been spoken for, what are the other major risks?
I think before we address the risk, Gareth, let's just go back into the provenance of our business and our trading strategy and why it works, because this will speak to the risks that we are going to address right now. But our hedge fund background essentially allows us to operate at a very sophisticated level in finance. We have achieved multiple financial services licenses, and as such have been able to get an asset management license, a foreign exchange intermediary license. And with the knowledge of trading, and that being Dave and Ashton and Warren, who all come from a deep pedigree of trading backgrounds, they have navigated market risks for their financial careers. Now, the big risk we got here is counterparty risk. We are essentially one of the primary counterparties. So you're trusting in us, a regulated financial service provider, I believe the most regulated in the crypto arbitrage space, and probably the longest serving for that matter. But we're accountable to the Reserve Bank, we're accountable to the FSCA. And as such, there's a whole lot of reporting and compliance work that we are obliged to do and maintain. So there's nothing nefarious that we can do because we're very much in the public eye as well. So it's down to counterparty risk. And counterparty means all the bells and whistles and the various service providers that attach themselves to our strategy. So who are our counterparties? These are exchanges and OTC providers, over the counter, who we have worked with for several years and have built faith in them because they have navigated the last 2 years, 3 years in the crypto space that has been horrendous, from the crashing of Terra Luna, Sam Bankman-Fried at FTX in October, the run on the bank, Silvergate in February. And how did our counterparties operate in that time? Were they exposed? So the due diligence process is as deep as we possibly can do. And it's also how we behave. What did we do in those instances? We got out the market. We don't like the market, but we don't think it's too frothy. We get out. So we're discretionary asset managers with a deep background in trading derivatives, equities, forex, and crypto for that matter. And with that knowledge can trade macro environments and exploit them better than most people who are simply running an algorithm or a code to do the arbitrage.
I know this is really a bit of guesswork and perhaps some intuition, but you're probably better a guesser and a more calculated risk taker here than anyone I know. Are you feeling bullish or bearish about the crypto market going forward anyway?
Yeah, it was a question asked of me last week in an interview. I remain bullish naturally, and I'm also not ignorant of the fact that this market needs regulation, and there's a lot of excitement in the space. So we're looking at all the noise around the ETFs that are about to pop up in the US, and that's great news. We're seeing big names like BlackRock, Fidelity, they're pouring in. Dave and Warren were in Singapore recently, and they could see the institutional adoption and the conversations with big players out there. Locally, we're seeing a lot more responsibility taking place here, but I will be more bullish as and when regulation is very, very apparent. And kudos to South Africa and the regulator, the FSCA, they're there. And on the 1st of December, crypto assets, digital assets will be fully regulated. And guys like myself will have to have those licenses in order to perform a arbitrage trading strategy like that. And this brings comfort to the end user, the consumer, and it'll also usher in a new class of investor, the institutions, pension funds, the larger asset managers. And as such, we hope to be able to service a broader community with peace of mind that we have adhered to the standards beholden upon us. And
South Africa, as a part of your market here, is a place where I think people are very interested in Bitcoin. I think people are interested in Ether. I think people are interested in the blockchain. I think that's because we are looking at our Rand assets and we're going, this hasn't gained any value over the years. Perhaps it's better if we look elsewhere. And this seems like the easiest thing to do.
Well, I mean, don't underestimate. We're coming off a very low base in crypto right now. So we've seen a cataclysmic crash from $60,000 down to 15. So Bitcoin's trending at sort of 25 at the moment, ETH at around 1.6, and it's been bouncing along like that. And we're getting bursts of excitement. And you're right, South Africans are big adopters. I think something like 10% of us are invested in one way or another. That's some sort of a number out there. But we're also home to some of the best scammers. I won't give them any credit on the show right now, but again, the reinforcement and requirement for regulation to hopefully sweep out some of the more nefarious activities.
And we've got to remember how young the cryptocurrency market is too. It's only been a few years, and for anything to have gone through the ups and downs that it has, it's bound to eventually reach a point where it's a lot more stable, in inverted commas, because what is stable these days? People talk about all the other assets, and they reserve a special high standard for crypto, don't they? I mean, no one's talking like this about certain stocks, which we won't go into either.
No, and I think a lot of guys are drawing sort of references to the boom in the .com era in 2000, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities on the graphs as to how this has played out. And looking at big operations like Microsoft and Amazon that survived 2000, but it took them 15 years to get back to the all-time highs that they were trading at. So, is that in the post for crypto? I sincerely hope not, but to make that difference, and you've touched on the word blockchain. Blockchain versus digital assets are two fundamentally different things, notwithstanding the symbiotic relationship. But the actual engineering behind the blockchain technology is what excites me. And the engineering and the work that goes on in these crypto winters that we are in, and we've seen cyclically new ideas come out of the doldrums. We saw NFTs come out of the last winter, DeFi coming out the last winter, and now we're seeing some very exciting stuff coming out there. So everything's working a lot faster, it's becoming a lot cheaper. The moment we regulate it, it becomes a more reasonable alternative to the traditional infrastructure that we're paying a lot of fees for, and that takes up a lot of time.
Andrew, who's this best suited to? I mean, who to you are the target market here, and what is the minimum investment? Maybe someone's listening now and they go, "Oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for, but I've only got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 rand." That's still can they still play?
Gareth, we historically had a minimum investment of 250,000 rand, and this was in place for most of our time trading for a number of good reasons. But for the short answer is the minimum trading amount is 100,000 rand right now. So who's got 100,000 rand? Who's this appeal to? So number one, you need to be a South African citizen over the age of 18 with a South African ID number, and you need to have your e-filing up to date. So tax compliant for that matter. And those are the credentials. Then you need 3 hours of your time and hopefully some familiarity with what we do. So currencyhub.coza is where we are. We have a lot of media articles. We have the frequently asked questions section, which covers most of that. And naturally, we are always readily available at a click of a button.
All right. So you said currencyhub.co.za is where we can go, right?
That's right. And I think, to kind of frame this particular thing, we have the opportunity to trade 10 million rand of your foreign investment allowance plus the 1 million rand single discretionary allowance. That 11 million rand allowance, we can essentially trade over 6 months. So with the 100,000 rand that you might have in your bond or your credit card, or you've just got paid a bonus, you can trade that. Now, let me use the example of 250,000 rand because it's a figure I got better in my mind. But with 250,000 rand, I can get through 10 million rand in 40 trades. I want 40 trades instead of 100 trades. The example using 100,000, because 40 trades is 40 SWIFT fees, 500 rand each, versus the 100 SWIFT fees. So we don't want to give the bank too much, and we want to preserve your profits. Now, with 250,000 rand at the current premium levels trending at around 2.5, 3%, I can hopefully make my clients about 140, 150,000 rand, which we're seeing in the completed trading statements of our clients this year. So talking a low road, and I'd rather keep expectations low and be pleasantly surprised with any upside. But if I make 150,000 rand or 250,000 rand, I've made circa 40 to 60% return. That's not bad in 1 year. What bad in 6 months? So I don't believe anywhere else is generating those returns, but the risk-adjusted return is what excites me, because our operation has been around since 2017, so we have 7 years trading track record, over 100,000 trades, and not a single loss. And how do we do that? References to those financial services license again. We are the foreign exchange intermediary. We are the primary counterparty with that Forex license, we lock in your Rand-dollar relationship. So it doesn't matter if the Rand goes up or down. And we have the best price at Forex. And that's the only fee we charge to do the arbitrage. Now, once we've locked in the Forex rate, simultaneously we're negotiating a premium rate with the exchange or over the counter, and we lock in that rate. So we know exactly what profits our clients are going to make before we commit to that trade. And that is the beauty of being able to do this with Category 2 asset management licenses, foreign exchange intermediary in-house. That's the secret sauce. And as a result, we can operate in a low margin. And this is why many people got many of the other service providers, they got squeezed out when it got down to 2.5. Anything under that, it's very, very hard to trade this thing. And we can trade this thing right down to 1%.
Wow. All right. So I would suggest if anybody wants any more info, they can go along to currencyhub.co.za. And with deep operational experience, as he's just told us, in alternative investments, Currency Hub is positioned at the intersection of crypto pioneers and traditional asset management, while authorized by the FSCA, which is important too. Their focus has been on a 7-year-old arbitrage strategy, which makes a 2 to 4% daily profit from price inefficiencies between digital assets and foreign exchange due to the exchange controls in South Africa. Did I summarize it reasonably well?
Thank you, Gareth. Spot on.
Andrew, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gareth. Have a good day.